Hello and welcome. Want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. This is Jason Bucher with Victor Oceaner and Company, representative of our cyber protection program, and here today to do our latest installments in our monthly cyber webinar series. This month we wanted to kind of hit a topic that I think is, well, for lack of a term, more topical, and hit something that has a pressing and current desire and need, and that is to address basically tax risks and the booming social engineering peril that is arising from the whole season and data that is surrounding around taxes. So if you have, I want to kind of quick open, if you have questions or anything, please feel free to message them, type them into the chat zone. All phones are made quiet, if you will. But if you have any questions, please put them there. Or if you have questions afterwards, please do not hesitate to contact myself or any members of the Victor Oceaner cyber team. We're always happy to talk, discuss basically anything and all things cyber. So with that, let's kind of pop on real quick and move on a little bit forward. There we go. All right, so cyber exposures in tax season. This is kind of a brief outline of what I was hoping to accomplish today. And first off, I want to address whether or not the risk is real. And kind of then break into a little bit of what private information is actually at risk with taxes. Provide you a couple of common and real-life examples just to kind of drive home the point. And lastly, I want to give a lot of tools and give you a couple links, some solutions, and some options, and also information that you can discuss with all of your clients to help protect themselves and their ultimate clients against the potential cyber risk. And then we'll close with questions that anybody may have. So first, is the risk real? With cyber insurance and all things cyber and cybersecurity, oftentimes it can seem more marketing driven than actual facts, and you get a lot of stats, a lot of statistics, a lot of fear content that oftentimes feels not very realistic to the actual individuals. But in this case, I'll have to say that the risk is genuinely real, related to social engineering, phishing risks, and tax data, tax time. I did want to throw out a couple of statistics, but it does help a little bit in kind of quantifying the risk. And that is, the first one is a report put out by the IRS Return Integrity Compliance Services. This is a group that is charged with basically auditing and verifying the sanctity of all data provided to and provided from the IRS. And they have reported that the reports of W-2 related phishing emails had increased 870% in 2017. And further to that statistic, they had found that nearly 1 in 4, a full 25% of all parties that had reported receiving a W-2 related phishing email had actually fallen for the phishing email scam. So a full 25% of every single, if you had a 25% hit ratio on anything, it's going to, of course, drive a significant drive this to keep on going and growing. And further, to the kind of adding to the prior 2 points, a phishing security service report that's put out by this group called Wombat Security, and their State of the Phish report of 2017. They had found of their corporations that they had surveyed, which were of all sizes and shapes and all nationalities, a full 76% of all the organizations surveyed had reported being victim of a phishing attack in 2016. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they had fallen victim and they had released information, but a full 76% had reported they had been both targeted and pursued for the delivery of a phishing attack. So not only is the risk is so real that in both 2017 and again in 2018, the IRS released both YouTube videos and very strongly worded alerts to tax professionals to be on the lookout for email scams. And I included the links for a quick review, quick consumption, quick distribution, if you desire to send it to any of your accounting related clients or accounting clients. This is a risk that was so large that the IRS really felt that it was absolutely necessary for them to not only release a couple of data points, some advice, but they'd actually developed a couple of nice videos that are, they really want to drive home the point that this is important. Okay, so the risk is real, but why? So why is taxes, tax data, and phishing so interrelated? And there's four pretty clear reasons of why this risk is so genuine, so real, and so pressing. The first is time sensitivity. Every single person in the United States knows that Tuesday, April 17th, 2018 is tax day. And it's a date that you can't get away from no matter what, whether you're filing for an extension or whether you're filing your taxes. It's a date that exists and is pressing on you pretty much every minute of your day up until April 18th. So it creates a genuine sense of urgency. And a sense of urgency is absolutely key for a successful phishing scam. So if you're looking at something that says, I need to respond now, I need this information because I have to file this by Friday, a recipient of that email is more apt to respond than a general request for information, a pursuit of a response that is kind of open-ended. They can try and create a sense of urgency, but that sense is nowhere near as real as that created by tax day. Secondly, it's a difficult topic, taxes are. So because taxes are indeed such a difficult topic, it creates a high reliance on outside professionals. And what this creates is a significant opportunity to exploit trust. Because you are relying on outside professionals for their advice, their input, their assistance, and their support, you trust that what they say is accurate, needed, and of value. So if a scammer is able to exploit that trust between you and your outside professional, it gives them a higher opportunity to basically step in and become the intermediary and obtain the information, obtain the outcome that they are desiring from that phish attack. Another point is stress. I have yet to find a single person out there, even accountants included, that taxes do not create stress for. With the time sensitivity, the reliance on outside resources, the high amount of data and information that's necessary to complete the tax process. Simply seeing an email with a request for additional information, or an email or any request for any response related to tax, it's more apt to generate a response than you would of an email requesting assistance in a login for a web portal, or any request for hey, your car needs to be serviced. It doesn't create the same sense of urgency as the word taxes do. And lastly, there is a constant need for additional information. It's an expected of all parties involved in the tax filing process that additional information are going to be required, and also urgent, by the way. Hitting back on the time sensitivity thing, you're going to be asked for last year's information. You're going to be asked for all accounts that you have. You're going to be asked to be constantly providing this information, so when you receive a request for a report from 2017, you're more apt to respond than if it was a report of payables to UPS the prior year. You're going to perhaps evaluate that request more so than you would a tax request. Secondly, there is a constant sending and distribution of attachments. So attachments are one of the easiest ways to deliver a malware attack or a virus or some other Trojan, if you will, try and get behind the security of a company. So if you're more apt to click the link because you think it's from an accountant, you're more apt to get that link and that virus implanted into the target location. So what private information is actually at risk? So with taxes, there's the obvious information, that the name, address, social security number, but I really want to stress the importance of contact information. So what I don't think many give the proper credence to is the huge value of knowing that Jason Bucher is a customer of accountant ABC. If someone knows that Jason Bucher and his phone number is this, and he is a customer of accountant ABC, when they contact me and say, hi, this is so-and-so of accounting firm ABC, I need you to do this, this, and this, or I've noticed a irregularity in your taxes, and we need this additional information, I'm more apt to respond to that. It gives the simple contact information gives a significant opportunity to exploit trust. So protecting, guarding, and ensuring the safety of the contact information between accountants in particular and all of their customers and all of their clients really needs significant attention by all involved. So that's why I put this information, I think, as number one most valuable data to protect related to taxes and social engineering risks. Then there's corporate data, corporate service. With corporate data, the W-2s, this data has these reports have everything needed to file a false return, file for credit, cause any and amazing harm to the individuals impacted. So anytime that you lose either a current or a prior W-2 or a file of W-2s, this event needs to be reported and responded to immediately because it has significant impact on everybody involved. With corporate data, corporate services, with taxes, you got the benefits, you've got 401k reports, you've got property taxes, you've got a huge variety of information, any of which has an element of sensitivity. And I also wanted to point out that with corporate data and corporate taxes, owner tax information is tied closely to owner and investor tax information is tied closely to the corporate tax process. So it gives an additional avenue to exploit opportunities. So guarding that relationship, guarding that information is of course very important. And then with personal data and taxes, I started off trying to detail all the information that was sensitive or of private nature, and I gave up on it. I simply just put in everything. Anything related to Jason Bucher and taxes is sensitive information. Any amount, any data point, any account information. Again, the fact that Jason Bucher is customer of accounting firm ABC, that's sensitive. Everything related to individuals and taxes is of a sensitive and private nature and needs to be guarded and protected. I wanted to hit real briefly on the cyber insurance impact and the information that's being guarded, protected, and needing attention related to taxes and social engineering. All right. So the most sensitive information, tax-related information, sensitive financial information, the name, address, social security number, account information, like which bank account you have, basically all that sensitive data that's on the W-2. This is well addressed by most all levels of cyber insurance. And what I mean is cyber endorsements to accountants E&O, cyber extensions to BOPs, monoline cyber policies. They pretty much all address private personal information related to the taxes. But where it gets a little bit more interesting is when you get down to some of the other items of data that needs to be guarded by accountants. So contact information. This is, again, Jason Bucher, phone number, email address, and the fact that he is a customer of accounting firm ABC, that contact information. This is oftentimes not covered in a lot of those lower level endorsement bolt-on cyber insurance policies. I do wish to stress that it is specifically contemplated by the SHINRA Cyber Protection Program. We find this data to be of significant importance and value, and compromise of this information needs immediate response and appropriate response in protecting against its impact to clients. Account history. Again, this is data knowing that Jason Bucher had been a customer of accounting firm ABC in the years 2016 and 2017. The release of that information could cause opportunity for a scammer or a phisher to attack Jason Bucher. Account history is oftentimes not well contemplated by a lot of other cyber programs. It is specifically contemplated by the SHINRA Cyber Protection Program. And lastly, corporate data and information. And this I really wish to stress. Many cyber policies, even true monoline cyber policies, do not contemplate third-party corporate data. This is a really important item to consider for any of your accountants, cyber insureds. If they have any corporate services or corporate tax services, or just if they're working for businesses at all, their cyber policies should contemplate the loss of or compromise of third-party corporate information. I do wish to stress that it is, of course, specifically contemplated by the SHINRA Cyber Protection Program. We cover the loss of or compromise of third-party corporate data as defined by an NDA or a confidentiality agreement. So we anticipate and intend to cover that contractually related data. So I wanted to hit a couple of common and real-life examples. The first one, this was an actual scenario that was presented to us on an insured. It was a recent event for a moderate firm up north. An HR contact within a good-sized firm was tricked into releasing the W-2 reports of all their employees for the prior calendar year by an email that was purporting to be the CEO of the company. It was a pretty low-level phish. They identified the contact probably by LinkedIn. They had modified their email to appear to be from the CEO, and that person released the data almost immediately. Because when you receive an email from your CEO, you typically respond. So that was a mistake. That was a fairly expensive mistake, actually. Ended up covering, there was several hundred individuals impacted by this compromise event, and full breach response was necessary. This actually just happened in both February of 2018, and I also found another event in March of 2018, where scammers were scammers were sending emails to members, to different state association members of the AICPA. There were two different events. The first one was an email was sent to several different state CPA association members. They simply obtained membership roles from the website and the contact information from the website, and then sent a false phish email stating something to the effect of the termination of membership and possible disciplinary sanctions being levied upon that CPA member. The email contained a compromised attachment that they were trying to get the recipient to click, which of course contained a virus. The virus contained a keylogger element that was, their goal was to be able to access login and password information to the targeted CPAs. The CPAs were specifically targeted in this instance because of the data and the keys of which they hold. So they are definitely being targeted and identified. In March, the New Jersey CPA members also received a secondary message. This was again a false email phishing out to CPA members, and this one they sent a compromised DocuSign link. They were saying the NJCPA has sent you documents to sign via DocuSign. They wanted you to click the review documents link, and of course that was not a good link to click. It contained a virus, and again showing that accountants are actively being targeted for the data which they hold. And other individuals, some other real life examples that are occurring are emails, texts, and calls to the individuals purporting to be the IRS. This is the scam that the IRS is trying to make accountants aware of, so they can make their clients, the Jason Dukers of the world, aware of this pretty significant risk. So individuals are contacted by a scammer. The scammer is oftentimes armed with specific information. They'll know perhaps the last four numbers of your social security number and maybe your income from last year. They might have your property tax information, which oftentimes is public and relatively easy to find. And they will allege both either underpayment or even overpayment of taxes for a prior year. And they will be, of course, seeking to collect the payment or are seeking the payment information to reimburse them of this overpayment of taxes. And again, the contact information and even just singular data points can succeed in a successful scam or phish attack against these individuals. So any data that is related to individuals and taxes is pretty sensitive and needs to be guarded, protected, and aggressively managed by all involved. So I wanted to close up with there's a couple slides of some advice, some tools, some links that you as insurance agents and risk advisors can share with your accountant clients and even your corporate clients on how to protect themselves against the emerging booming social engineering and phishing scams related to taxes. And the first, you always got to advise them on making sure their systems are appropriate, systems are up to date, and systems are being used. There are a lot of tools available to protect against phishing emails, phishing scams, and similar. Even Microsoft Office 365. They have a lot of tools that even individuals who are a single-man accounting firm, they can obtain some of the better tools that are available out there. Microsoft Office 365 has tools that include domain authentication. What this means is, so in the AICPA event phish email, it will verify that the email was indeed emanating from the registered domain of the AICPA. So since it obviously was not, unless the AICPA was directly compromised, if it's being sent from an outside source, somebody was purporting to be the AICPA but hadn't compromised their network specifically, this tool is available to identify that difference between those domain names and block that email from even coming into your inbox. Those are tools that are available as part of your 365 subscription. You do have to set them up. You do have to administer them, but it's readily available for all the clients who use that software. My neighbor, who is a cybersecurity engineer, I asked him what he recommends, and he recommends a group called Mimecast. It is a very advanced email protection software solution. It is more of a network admin type tool. It's not something for your average user, but it is highly advanced with great tools that can protect against a variety of phish emails, phish attacks. So if you've got larger corporations or larger clients who are looking for advanced software tools, that is one that I would definitely steer them towards. So I put this in all caps. Advise your clients that education and awareness of all computer users, from the lowest of the low to the highest of the high, this truly is the best protection that any business can have to protect against a phish email, a phish scam, or just this particular risk. Making sure everyone is aware that this is a risk and a peril that needs vigilance all day long is something that every business should be stressing and presenting. Because truthfully, the best software protection in the world can be undone in a fraction of a second by a user. An ill-advised click can't be undone oftentimes. There is a tool that I actually kind of get a kick out of. It's called PhishMe. It's put out by a company called Cofense, and they provide phishing simulation programs to assist in training users to identify phishing messages and attacks. So this is a tool that's actually free to use. So even small businesses can use this. And so if you're running an education and an awareness campaign for all your employees, you can then back it up with a test phish email that you can send to all your employees or selected members of your employees that can look just like a phish, but it's sent obviously in a safe environment, so it's not going to harm or impact your systems. But it's a great tool that's available for education and awareness of employees. It's also important to educate on the sensitivity of the data shared. And I wish to stress that this applies to not just data sent via email, but spoken word on the phone or in the bar even. Of course, business and personal emails, social network posts. You need to think about what data you're sharing, both in attachments and in text form. Again, I want to point out the importance of making everyone aware that you wouldn't think that verifying that a person or business is a client of a specific account to be of sensitive nature, but it truly is. So education on the sensitivity of all data which is passing through an accounting firm or passing through any business, the sensitivity of it and the need to protect is of importance and value. Some more advice that you can provide them is to develop, implement, and train in the use of a comprehensive privacy policy. A privacy policy is not just a document that resides on your website or resides in your HR file. Your privacy policy should be a dynamic document and a dynamic process for every business and every employee to abide by. I think a lot of folks just find the templates or they just kind of create something and just forget about it. Making it part of the daily use and daily process and daily thoughts of every employee has a real value to everyone out there. And there's a company out there called Risk-Based Security. I gave you a little link here. They're actually a really good vendor for businesses of all size, but specifically the smaller Main Street size insurers that are our targeted clients. It's set up by an ex-cybersecurity guy and also a cyber insurance guy. He's brilliant, if you ask me. Great vendor, great guy. If you're needing any vendors or somebody to assist in setting up a privacy policy, I'd highly recommend this group here. Some additional advice: enabling employees in the process. Give them ownership and the responsibility of protecting, if you will, the crown jewels of the company and the clients. Phish tests and phish reporting services are hugely valuable in this tool, in this process. But we here at Shinnerer, we have a great phishing email that allows us, when we receive a message that looks a little questionable, we can forward it to them for their quick analysis of whether or not it was a phish, whether or not the attachment is a good attachment or a bad attachment, without us having to open it. Having this tool really emboldens all employees that they have the tools necessary to identify a potential risk, and they can flag it and provide it. So that same group that offers PhishMe, that's Cofense, they also have a phish reporting service that can be set up for all businesses. So you can subscribe to it, and then if your employee receives an email that he's not quite so sure about, they can forward it to this service. They will analyze it for you, and then let you know whether or not it was or was not a good email to open. Also wanted to point out that the IRS also hosts an email notice service for any W-2 related phishing attempts. They want to keep accurate data on who's sending it, how is it being sent, how's it being worded. So phishing at irs.gov, that's the email address to forward. So that's a good data to share with your clients. And I close again with training. Yes, again and again. Training is genuinely important to protect against the falling victim to a phishing or a social engineering related risk. Training your employees to analyze whether the information or data is actually even needed by the person asking. Does a person on the phone really need this information? Training them to really think about the data before they send it. That's going to be a huge value when somebody receives a phone call and sounding urgent, and they end up if they aren't trained to be aware of the potential risk, they aren't going to be thinking about the potential risk. Train employees to identify scenarios that should set off alarm bells. Email requests from people that you aren't quite so sure about with urgency, or email requests from people that don't normally send urgent requests. Think about this. Let your spidey sense kind of to trigger a little bit. Train them to get that spidey sense at all, so they can be ready and be aware of these events. And also train them to trust their guts. Everybody, humans are good with our instincts. And if you give an employee a safe point of contact to report possible events, if you support the employees that trusting their gut, following their instincts was a good response to do, that they're going to be more apt to assist in protecting, and hopefully prevent the business from falling victim to the phishing event. So with that, I just kind of want to pass it open to questions. I don't know if anybody has anything or any questions about the data, which is of sensitive nature, what they can do to advise their clients to protect against it, or just any questions on cyber insurance in general. Put it out there for any questions you may have.
Hey, Jason, a couple questions did come in. The first one is, what should we do first, or who should we contact if we do think we are a victim of a phishing scam?
Okay. So who should you contact? Depends on the insured. So if this is a business who is a customer or a cyber insurance policyholder, the data breach coach is a hugely valuable resource. They can help you, for lack of a term, it's just talking you back off the ledge, if you will. So if somebody thinks that they had clicked a bad link, or think that they have maybe fallen victim to a phishing email and aren't quite sure what maybe has been shared or what next steps are necessary, the data breach coach is invaluable, is an invaluable resource to respond to. If the business is a subscriber to Cofense, or if they have other internal tools to report or to send over for their analysis, that is also a really good solution for businesses to send it to have.
Okay. Are there certain types of businesses that you see receive more phishing scams than others?
So, as far as businesses that could fall victim or are being targeted, I think every business, as noted in the opening slide, is 74% of all businesses had fallen victim or had reported falling victim to a phish attack. But I do believe that accountants are specifically targeted. I think that their data that they hold is of such significant value, and there's a direct monetization value to that data that makes them particularly vulnerable to this level of attack or nature of attack.
Okay. Would an accountant's E&O policy pick up any of the instances of the attack?
Okay. Would an E&O policy cover the loss? To this question, it depends. Some accountants' E&O policies carry strict exclusions for data breach or release of personal information. And in those cases, a response to an email where you release Jason Bucher's private information, that would absolutely not be covered under the accountant's E&O policy. Some accountant's E&O policy will carve back in some liability to cyber liability risks. So, the release of Jason Bucher's private information, if that led to financial damages incurred by Jason Bucher and I bring suit against that insured, it's possible that the E&O policy may respond, but it would not cover any proactive response. It would not cover notification costs, monitoring, or anything else that might assist in making sure that Jason Bucher is not harmed by that release of information. But from my analysis, most of the accountant's E&O policies do not carry a comprehensive cyber element. So a monoline product or a specific endorsement anyhow will be necessary to pick up all the cover necessary to insure against this risk.
Okay. No other questions have come through.
Cool. All right, well, again, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact myself or any members of our team here at Victoria Center. And we greatly appreciate your support and look forward to the opportunities coming forward. Thank you and goodbye.